What up, everybody? Happy Thursday. It's a special little edition here. I had the pleasure of talking to Josh Newell of the Palm Beach Breakers, and he has been running the Grid Stats Instagram account and has been putting a lot of good metrics and stats out there outside of, impact scores, which are super valuable that the league puts out. Just kind of giving you more information, more content, more understanding about players, where they come from, what they do, and how their value is determined amongst the team that they're on, and what might preclude them to be in certain races and certain match formats, so that hopefully you get a better overview of each of these athletes. But today, I'm going to have Josh on. He's going to break down. I'm the dummy today. Like I got to get him to explain some of these stats that he's been putting together, because he's got a mind that is as far beyond what I can comprehend. So today, hopefully, we get some understanding and a simplistic, concise version of what some of these reps above replacement and player efficiency stats are all about. But I don't want to waste any time. I want to bring Josh on and get this thing moving and grooving. Josh, I can see that you are in the car. You guys are on the road. It is it's
Yes,
grid
sir.
week, and big matches this weekend in Dallas, and it looks like you guys are on the road. You guys are in Mississippi currently, right?
Yeah, we're in the top of Mississippi. So,
If
so
you've
if I
ever
lose service at any point, apologies.
it'll be understandable, and people who have been to Mississippi will understand too. But who you got? You and Shay, or you carrying some other teammates? Who else is in that car?
And then I got we got Dodd driving. We got Billy. Shay's up here. She's motion sick, so she may be knocked out. She's she took some meds. She may be down for the whole drive. So
Well, nice. Well, you got the crew with you. You guys are en route. You're not driving, so everybody's safe. I mean, if I was going to trust anybody on the Breakers to drive me, I think Andrew Dodd's the guy. I think he's the right choice.
yeah, we got the two old men driving the ship today. So.
Here you go. Well, let's get into this. I got a little bit. I have a lot of questions to ask in regards to these stats and things. And I'll say this, man, you know, the dedication, the time, the commitment, and the brain power that you put into these stats is great. Shout out to you for taking the time to do it and putting the attention and the detail to it to really get, players, like I call it a player's story. I get to talk and interview players and kind of get an understanding of where they come from, how they get into fitness and all that. But this is another part of that story, just getting their story out there so people know who they are, what they do, what they're capable of. Because in grid, much like other fitness competitions, like you don't realize that this is something that only like a couple percent of the population can do, and it's just mind-blowing. So whenever we can get more info out there, I'm very appreciative, and I appreciate the time that you're spending with me to go through this and educate me on all the things that you look at. So obviously, we want to get into player efficiency at some point. That's kind of the big metric. It's kind of the overall arcing metric that you've been putting together. But I do want to ask, what sparked this newfound interest in stats? It's a labor of love, and it's a lot of love and a lot of work. So, like, why did you decide you wanted to research some stat lines and put some things together?
Well, I guess I was just thinking about how I could make my wife be more excited about how invested in grid I was. She thinks I don't talk about it enough, so that was the number one thing. But yeah, no, I was mainly just curious. Saw a lot on podcasts and stuff. Of course, you did the impact score, and I was like, man, I think impact score has this incredible value for like how important a team that's like. I wonder, if we say not all reps are created equal, could there be more value in the same number of reps that somebody else does versus somebody else? Obviously, there is on the grid. So I wanted to see, hey, can we see are your 6 reps that you get the same credit for on impact score as good as my 6 reps, or vice versa? So that was really it. I think the Sharks posted Jeff Coleman seconds, and I was like, man, that was really fast. I thought I was going to be the fastest in the league. I wonder if my time is faster. So I just did my time, and it, of course, was not faster than that. But I was like, man, I wonder who all else had a sub 10-second time. So I just got down a rabbit hole of timing everyone's mirror. And from there, I was like, man, somebody should do this on every race. And then I was like, well, if nobody else is going to do it, then maybe I'll do it. So I started doing that for every mirror, and then that devolved into every ladder, and it really spiraled out of control from there. But I remember thinking somebody could do this if they had the time, and I just happened to have the time a couple nights at work, and it got started. And when I start a project, I can't leave it alone. So it turned into every race for the whole league, for every team. So
I mean, you could just start, one. You had to finish it. I mean, and really, we're not even finished. We're just halfway.
Yeah,
through.
I can't leave it alone.
When I look at the stats that you've put together, I mean, you're doing people that have cleared all 4 quads on the ladder. You're talking about reps above replacement. You've done partner forward, Jack and Jill. You've done reps above average replacement for mirror. You've done fastest reps in certain race elements. And you've now created this player efficiency ranking. I guess, why those stats? What was the, obviously when you go, well, I got to decide what stats I want to, or what do I want to track? So why did you land on those?
Well, I do think that this near and dear to my heart is the strength stats, is that your impact score will never be incredibly high if you are just a strength specialist. Meaning your players who are not going to be utility players, but also strength specialists. Like your Beta veterans of the world, they're a strength specialist, but they're a utility player. So you're going to have an incredibly high impact score. Whereas you can excuse me. I mean, if I'm going to be in a couple of strength races, I might have an impact score of 30. But is it possible that maybe I was able to impact those races in such a high way, efficiency-wise, that my team was able to win those? And it'd be pretty cool to be able to shout out people that did that, because they just won't ever have the opportunity with impact score. The numbers just aren't there. The volume's not there. So for specialists in the sport, and it goes for bodyweight too, if you do a couple of things that much better than everybody else in a Jack and Jill, you're going to have a net efficiency on that race that's through the roof. But you may only do 3 reps. But you may have been the reason your team won that race. And so as a way to kind of pay homage to that and notarize people that maybe their impact score may not tell the whole story for them. And I think for the most part, you're going to see that the players with a high impact score are the players with a high impact score for a reason. They also have a high efficiency score. There's a reason their team is putting them in all these races.
You look at it like in baseball, a closer. A closer is a huge commodity and a very special piece to being able to win. But that person is out for 3, 4, maybe 6 outs, on a extended stretch. And that doesn't negate, yes, that is super important, but also the person or persons that started the game and got you to that point and the lineup, those people are important too. So being able to have metrics that can kind of go into these specialty areas and these specialty players is one. I think it just shines a light on some players that can do some really amazing things, but also it's another layer of branching out and growing the league in a positive direction. But when you look at reps above replacement, you help me understand this. For
I got to try to break this one down for everybody. It's probably the most important of the stats for like efficiency because it applies to just about every race. The only ones I don't use it on is ladder because ladder is a net positive no matter what. You're giving your team points no matter what. If you hit bars on ladder, it cannot be a negative value. Reps above replacement, I'll use the terms that everyone should be familiar with, which is average. So pretending there's an average player in the league for every movement that's done. Let's say for partner forward, the 8 power cleans that start the partner forward. Every player that does those 8 power cleans, I'll take all of their times. We'll get the average of that. And then each one of them will be compared to that average. So like how much faster or how much slower you were than the league average of those reps. That's all it is. So like, and then the number you're seeing is, let's say that number is 2.2. That means on average, you were 2.2 seconds or reps, however you want to phrase it, faster than the league average. Now, the caveat to that is you could also be negative 2.2, meaning if we're saying average, that means theoretically half the league is faster, half the league is slower. So some people will be slightly slower and get a negative rating for that movement. Some people will be all the way at the end, unfortunately, and wind up with a very negative rating. And some people will be all the way at the top and wind up with a very positive rating. So it does give the opportunity for you to kind of show your effect on the race. So like if you were really fast on those 8 power cleans, you might get a really positive rating. You may not play in the rest of that partner forward. But we even saw that in some of the top 5 rankings. Some of the players were that much faster on those 8 power cleans that it gave their team a rep or 2 lead starting off. And if you never lose that, it could be what wins you the race. You never know what point you're winning the race. So like each one of these elements will be compared to each other. So like, on mirror, every mirror quad will be compared to everyone else's mirror quad. So, if this is where I made most of my numbers was the first mirror with the hang snatches. If you were, 3 seconds faster than everyone else in your quad, that's probably a couple of reps faster than anyone else was. So you're going to add that to it. If you have the key thing to this is this really takes into account if you have faults in your reps. Because what I'm measuring is your total time from when you touch the implement or begin the exercise to when you finish it. So if you have 3 faults to get your 9 reps, it's going to take you a lot more time, and you're 100% going to be at the back of that away from the league average.
Right.
So it really punishes players who consistently gets faults in their reps. And that's, I'm not trying to do that. It's just, it is an important thing that impact score may not measure. Because impact score, if you do the 12 reps, it doesn't matter if you get 8 more faults on the way to get them. You're going to get your points for your 12 reps, right? And so, like, it's kind of the missing piece to, like, all right, well, how efficient were you with the reps that you did, basically? So was that too much over the top? I tried to.
No, I mean, the way I kind of equate is, it's like golf. You if you shoot 0 for the weekend, like you're par, you're right on average. And then if you don't hit that and you're above, you get a plus. But in your scenario, it's a negative. I get it. It seems simple. I mean, you talk about average. I mean, at this point, everybody knows that, the basics of averaging and how that works. And what I guess my question would be is, in something like a partner forward, do you have to be an athlete who completes all the reps for a particular element to get, I guess,
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, so, in partner forward, it's kind of unique because you typically wouldn't see
Right.
splits mid-movement. That's what made Echo pretty challenging because with Echo, you may see somebody do 13 front squats. You may see someone do 20. You may see someone do all 30. So with that, I had to actually I had to use reps per second. So I had to actually figure out how many reps did you do, how long did that take you, divide that out, make sure you hit a minimum number. So like maybe if it was front squats, everybody had to do at least 5 to be qualified. And then like, okay, if you didn't do 5, you don't even count in the data, but if you did, it counts no matter how fast or slow. So you take a minimum number, you get the reps per second. I had to do the same thing with the handstand complex, with the rope climbs and Jack and Jill. So things where people might do a different number, I have to go to how many reps they did, how long it took them, and take that number and compare it to the league average. So yeah, more math there. Those are the harder ones to partner forward, mirror, ladder, sprint. Those are super easy because everyone's doing the same number of reps typically, with some exceptions on sprint. But you just have to go. I had to kind of wing it. And then, granted, I'm really winging a lot of this, but I'm trying to like go back and revise it a lot before I release any data. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a obviously stopwatch and having to do this by hand. There's a level of like, yeah, I'm like doing the best I can, but it gives you a really good general picture of athletes' potential and performance and success. Now, when you talk about, you also measured speed of reps. You also measured who completed, all 4 quadrants on ladders for male and females thus far. What are you noticing, or are there any surprises that you're noticing as you're going through these different metrics?
yeah, I mean, I mentioned it on the ladder part. That ladder, that sandbag ladder, really kind of, I think most years, 2 weeks in, you'd have a pretty high number of people who'd still done all 4 quadrants in both ladders, albeit for strategy purposes or for actual ability purposes of getting that 4th bag over the bar. We saw a lot of people fall off to a number that was like, actually, that's why I posted it, because I felt like it was relevant how few people had done it. If it had still been like 35 people or something, I might have been like, well, this is not really noteworthy. So like on ladder, that was very interesting to see that, especially on the female side. The number of females that have now completed the ladder, I think, is down to 6 both times. So like very few numbers of females have actually been through both, and that could possibly dwindle more by the time this push press is done. So it's just an interesting thing. I don't think that we've talked about a lot with ladders. And ladders, I mean, everybody wants to know the ladder information. Like, it's a cool thing. Not everybody gets to play on it. I get that, and but us big people don't typically get to play on Jack and Jill too. So fair's fair. I did, although it could be argued that I looked at the stats that maybe I should not have. So that was a humbling experience to time my own reps on the L-sit rope climb and be like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if you're gonna do it, you gotta be fair. You gotta do it for yourself too.
Fair, I took a big negative on those. So
I mean, it happens.
And I boosted everyone else's average. So
there you go. What about I guess the big one that we're gonna spend a little bit of time talking about is player efficiency. What is player efficiency, and in your eyes, why is it important?
So player efficiency takes the work that you're doing with impact score, which I 100% believe is still a super valuable metric. I think people tend to hate on it, but it's only because of how incomplete it is, like we've talked about. But none of these efficiency metrics really matter if, like, you could be the most efficient player in the league on like 2 things. Do you really deserve to be in the top 10 of the whole league if you've only done 2 races all year? Like kind of like your minimum innings pitched for like ERA, or, minimum minutes played for points per game or something. So like the impact score does, because you can have positive or negative efficiency, it matters how much you were used. So like if I'm only used in 5 things, I'm not exposed to as many opportunities for a negative. I do have a lot more opportunities for a positive if I do more things, but I'm also out there putting myself at risk for, more bad things to happen while I'm on the grid too. So the impact score is valuable because it says how much were you used, Your ladder score is going to tell kind of like that absolute strength value. So like for the people that are on ladder, it's giving them a chance to exert not just their points on ladder, but their speed on it. So it calculates in on that. And then your efficiency rating is just going to be all your positives or negatives for everything you did are all getting tallied up and added to those numbers. So for impact score, basically what we did to make the numbers work, because the player efficiency ratings are kind of like decimal point. So if your impact score was 150 in both matches, you'd get like a 1.5 for those matches added to your net efficiency. So that's just all positive value. You did the reps. No matter whether you did them faster or slower, you helped your team out by doing those reps. So it's especially valuable for something like Triad, where it's like really important to gobble up some reps sometimes, whether you're doing them, everybody does wall balls about the same speed, but doing those wall balls helped your team, I guarantee it. So like those impact points just kind of get added to it. So you'll see it did shake up the rankings. That was the last piece I added, thanks to you. So it did kind of pull some people up into the top 25, move some people from like 15 up into the top 10 even. So there was some movement and some shaking. Some people in the top 10 went up to a higher spot. So it did matter for sure. So how much work you did was still important. But I do think there's some surprises as far as like total efficiency, in my opinion, based on some of these rankings. Even in the back half of that top 25, and even beyond it. I mean, it's an arbitrary number to cut it off at 25. I mean, I could go back to 30 and 35 and 40, and all those players still deserve like credit for what they're doing. And it's just I had to I can't post a whole list. But if you want to, I guess you could private message me, like if you want to know where you are.
Well, let's jump into it a little bit. And I'll start with what you've
Let's go. Yeah.
So 25, and once we get to the top 5, we'll have a little bit longer of a conversation on those 5. But I do want to hit on some of these. 25 to 21, 25 Aaron Medina, Ella Carvalho, Alyssa Hoffman, Brandon Schiffer, and Jess Kraisman rounding out the 25 to 21. You mentioned, I guess we'll answer this question as we go through all of these little segments, is any of these players that were higher or lower before you added impact to it, where now that boosted them into the top 25, or was anybody higher and it moved them further down in the top 25?
So I actually think that Jess Kraisman jumped all to the top 20 all the way to 21. I think she was originally like in the 28, 27. The amount of work done boosted you. Can you hear me? Sorry, I jumped in a little bit out of service there.
You're good.
Another one, I think also Bella.
He's in that dead spot.
Partially because he's only done one match. Yeah, Mississippi dead spot. I think partially because he's only done one match, Brandon Schiffer actually moved a little bit.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit, because his efficiency ranking was super high in the one match. He doesn't have the impact from only doing one match. So he kind of moved down a little bit. And then Alyssa Hoffman, she's been very efficient, but has not had a high impact either match.
Well, let me ask this. Someone like a Brandon Schiffer, all right? What is, if he continues the trend that he had in week 2 in these next 2 matches, is he someone that can catapult himself up in this ranking, or would it require the people above him to not do as much?
No, if you look at and we'll see it as we go through, the 25 through 11, it's pretty close. I mean, even the top 10 has only got a 10 rating, and 25 is at 6.4 there, I think, 6.5. So that's only 3.5 points away. That's one bad quadrant on a partner forward. So or one really good mirror quadrant. So you can jump. It'd be a little bit of both, probably. He could have another really good race as a whole where he puts up 6 or 7 efficiency points. And then a couple people just don't do that or even come down with a negative race. So like it's wildly fluctuable because people can have good or bad days. And like I said,
Right.
some people on this list, there are people that aren't in the top 25 simply from having a couple of bad quadrants on a partner forward or a particularly bad set on an echo. So like it can happen real quick. So
I mean, it just
because it's so
shows
close.
you. Yeah, I mean, but it also shows you like these top 25, like how good of movers they are at everything that they do.
Yeah, and coaching. It really matters because like these players being put in good positions. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me.
We got 20 through 16. You got 20. You got Nate Cobb, who's another guy. Only one match under his belt, and there he is at 20. David Blatt, Dylan Fullwood, Sammy Nally, and Evan Newman. Evan's a interesting one sitting here at 16 because when you look at everything that he's done in comparison to the rest of the league, he's done a lot and he's been really good at a lot. So talk me through someone like Evan. What brings him down to 16th and not higher?
This is no fault to him. The ring muscle ups in the echo were an unfortunate thing that happened to him, where he was out there to do those when most of the rest of the league was doing butterfly. So whereas this is a good example of impact score reflecting positively and then efficiency score kind of reflecting negatively on that. Not necessarily fairly because we weren't trying on that, but like that's an important thing of like, hey, you know, your reps are your reps. And so like they were a little bit slower. They weren't much slower, mind you. So he was very fast, not doing butterfly, but a little bit slower than most of the rest of the league that butterflied. And then a couple of partner forwards that he's been in, it's been amazing. That thruster and power clean partner forward, the speeds on that across the league were ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like if you got a fault in a quadrant for any reason, you're taking a negative in that quadrant. Like you couldn't have done 7 reps. If you did 7 instead of 6, it's going down as a negative for you. Like even if that was your teammate's fault, or if it was yours, like no matter what happened, it was going to bring you down. I think he had to do 7 instead of 6 on one of the power cleans. Literally, that's it. But you can tell. I mean, like I said, the 10th person on the list is a 10. It could literally just be that one extra rep on a power clean is that big of a difference because of how jam-packed everybody is on this. He probably belongs a little higher with just those couple of things that kind of pulled him down a little bit, in my opinion. But he's going to have a big weekend. I have inside information to that. So lots of opportunity to rise for him.
What about a Dylan Fullwood? Do you give bonus points for wearing boots and a ladder and being able to clear it? Like, how does that work?
So match 2 was huge for him, man, and that's more inside information. He did not have an up to standards match 1 for himself, and he came back fired up for match 2, and he really, really, you know, there are a couple things in the league where he's top 1 or 2 in interchangeably, the burpee to rings, the legless rope climbs, and then we found out, you know, Dog Martens and all, sandbag over yoke is one of those things where he's going to be top 3 or 4 in the league at too. So he just had a really good match format where he took advantage of that and performed. So he did perform really, really well. So and that's why he's here. I mean, he jumps all the way into the top 25 with that mega performance in match 2.
That's just one weekend of getting after it and doing well. I mean, that's kind of great because if you're going to be considered in these efficiency rankings as one of the top players in the league, like consistency matters. You can't have any off weeks. And I think like when you look at most valuable players in other leagues, like a lot of it has everything to do with being consistent, being able to put up those big time numbers on a day-to-day basis. So
Yeah, you're going to see that when we get to the top 10 for sure.
Well, we'll take a step closer. All right, you got 50.
All right.
Yourself in here at 12, and then Chris Chaffee at 11. Now, I know Ed spot again. There we go. You're back. 15 to 11. What are your thoughts here when you were putting this together? These guys popped up.
So a couple things to know. Corey Hendon is actually your highest rated rookie. So that's pretty impressive. There's a lot of talk, and I love our guys about rookie of the year. So like our team is stacked full of rookies, but he's been very impressive. Have to take note of that. Dalton Herrero, much like Dylan Fullwood, had an opportunity to push on this last match and took full advantage of it. Marcus Medina is one of the most underrated players in the league, in my opinion. That guy can move, and he can move heavyweight, and he is just, you'll never hear a word out of him. You'll never see him post anything. But when I go to do his times, I'm like, man, this guy is moving again. Here he is again. Oh, he's top 5 again. Like he is just consistently above average on everything.
It's always with something heavy too, like just
moving
fast. Heavy.
He's moving very efficiently, very like Ryan DeMatti like, which is fantastic that we get to play both of them on the same team. We love that, but yeah, he's very efficient. Obviously, you got me in here.
What about him?
Pretty much, I made most of my hay in mirror and sprint. I'm a good example of low impact score, doing things that I'm just very, very, very good at, and was able to kind of stretch that out to a high ranking. Although I did take some negatives, like I said, on that LSIT road climb. Probably got a lot of credit for doing it, but it probably shouldn't do it again. And then Chris Chaffee is actually the highest rated male bodyweight specialist in the league right now on this ranking system. Been amazing at the stuff he's doing. Yeah, he has just been consistently positive on his rankings. Like kind of like Medina, everything he's doing is coming back positives, and then he's had a couple of moments where he has been like the fastest in the league at a couple of things. His butterfly muscle ups ranked the fastest in both echoes last match. And then in sprints, he's been able to push that out and be fast on the rings. So lots of positives that tallied up well for him.
Nice. All right, let's jump into the top 10 here. Valerie Gunning at 10, Jocelyn Williams at 9, Blake Kidder at 8, Kelsey Keel at 7, and Paula Leas at 6. Some heavy hitters in this category. You've got someone like Valerie Gunning and Jocelyn Williams who are just strong. And we were talking about Valerie a couple of days ago, and she's just been, kind of that glue person. Whatever you need from her, the Sharks just throw her in and she can do it. It's crazy.
Yeah. One of the few people who have no negative scores on anything. So.
I mean, that's big time. So when you look at the 6 through 10, anybody, surprise you that they're not higher, or anybody surprise you that they're in the top 10?
I mean, I think people would probably be surprised that Blake Kidder's not higher, but that's just a testament to how good the people that are in this top 10 are. That like this is all going to get separated by like a decimal point or two as we keep going. He didn't have very many negative remarks at all. The only thing that slightly costed him was a little bit of extra celebration on the sprints. So but other than that, he's been solid. And he's still solid. It's just that's costed him on total time. It's taking him to do those implements. Paula is actually our highest rated female bodyweight specialist. So it's funny that I think I saw a podcast where she was like disappointed in performance and stuff. And I'm like, well, you've actually been doing pretty well. So,
I think it was just week one. She was not, happy about her personal performance, despite the
Yeah, well,
team.
she's doing quite well as usual. Then you've got Kelsey, the newcomer. I guess she's actually the highest rated female rookie. So I guess I misspoke earlier. Corey's the highest male. And then Kelsey Kidd will be the highest female rookie inside the top 10. And then I got to give some props here. This is somewhat format based because there's been a lot of squatting and front squatting, particularly in the first two matches. But just like I said with Dylan Fullwood and Dalton Herrero, Jocelyn Williams, very exceptional front squatter, and she's proved it. She's pushed the efficiency rating out by doing very fast front squats multiple times, being strong on both ladders, and just in general being net positives on just about everything she's done. So I think she would be somebody that I would imagine most of the league would not have put in the top 10 here. So probably the biggest surprise, if you had to ask me. When I finished it, I was like, wow. I was like, jumped right on in there. So her and Valerie Gunning being 9 and 10, I don't think people would just roll those names off. If you were like, yeah, give me the top 10 most efficient players in the league, I don't think they would be I don't make it want to sound like a backhanded compliment, but I think they would be more underrated and would not be the first names off people's mind. So
they're there, and
I
don't expect them going anywhere, to be honest. Just looking at what the next two,
you just continue to be solid, man, and continue to put up solid, consistent reps and don't get faults. I mean, I can't stress it enough. Like the people, if you counted up the faults from the people in this top 10, it's probably not even double digits among all of them. So
I'm wondering if there's anybody outside of the top 25 that had just a huge number of faults, and that's why they're not.
I can think of a couple. I won't point out any names, but I know there's a couple that I'm like, yeah, these people belong higher, and just had a couple of really just unfortunate situations, either by their own doing or by something that happened transition wise with faults. So yeah, it has happened for sure.
Well, that brings us to the reveal of the top 5.
Yes, sir.
Let's get to number 5. Number 5. That's your teammate, JoJo Gomez.
Yes, sir.
14.25.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about JoJo.
So he's made a lot of ground up. He's actually been the top 3 in mirror in both of his quads overall on the men's side. So a lot of points in mirror. And then he's been extremely valuable on the back half of echoes. Probably would have been even more valuable had he got to do the flipper. So didn't even get that opportunity to add points there. But extremely valuable there. And then on sprint, he was able to kind of push out on that first sprint. And the interesting thing about JoJo being in the top 5 is he didn't even play in the back half of match 2. So very low impact score. He's just been exceptional on everything that he's done. The shining moment is probably the partner forward from match 2. He was so much faster than everyone else on those heavy power cleans that he pretty much pushed himself out, probably earned his top 5 spot basically right there, and won us the race. Him and Vito won us the race right there. I mean, they just, even with a couple of faults, they were still that much faster. So
man. All right, well, number 4, Alex Smith, 14.41. Some people, I was talking about him the other day, some people have forgotten, this is a very, very good athlete, very well-rounded, and yes, he's extremely efficient at gymnastics-based movements, but he can also lift some barbells, climb some ropes, do some muscle-ups, burpees, he can do box jumps, all of these other components that are in these match formats, he can do these, and I think people get away from that a little bit.
Yeah. He was one that I think he jumped up a little bit with the impact score, just because of how much he's done volume-wise. But he also has just been wildly efficient at everything. all of the stuff that he's done. His double touches, and I got a firsthand view of that, so I was not surprised when I saw the times on them. Made a lot of ground up on his double touches, his ring muscle ups, his back roll to supports, all of his high skill gymnastics. He's right there with Chris, right there with Reese Lyons, right there with David Blatt. Like they're all neck and neck at that stuff. And then he's done other stuff. He's been on the ladders. I mean, he's he's putting forth a lot of effort for that Venom team that's been a little bit short staffed. And so like it's showing, I think.
But I think they're going to have some new faces this week coming up. So
we got some reinforcements coming in.
That's the word on the street. But number 3, Sydney Wilson. I mean, tried and true. Like you think of like top players in the league. I think she's one that'll come to mind if you go team by team. Her efficiency scores a 14.93. Talk to me about Sydney.
Yeah, so a ton of work on the strength side for sure, right? So this is one of those that's probably our highest rated truly just strength athlete. She does play on some triads and things like that for the Wild, but does mostly strength stuff. And so to be this high when most all of your opportunities are all strength rated is very impressive, because that's a lot of pressure to perform in everything you're in. And not have any negative remarks on that. She's definitely done very, very well on just about everything. The partner forward that she did, running 6.4 and 2, and then having to repeat it and still be very impressive on that stuff. So, that's one of those things where like they didn't get credit for winning that race, but this metric can help show that like the effort she put in there was very impressive. So like the Wild are maybe not having the season that they wanted to have. And like, I can tell that like some of the veteran players may be a little frustrated with that, but like she's definitely still doing her part. And so I think that they're now at a point, granted, now they get to play us and we get to see them now be even better. So I think they've got enough of their feet wet now. They should be a better team here in Dallas. So we'll see if some of that load can maybe get taken off of her, and see if she stretches out even more. So,
I mean, you're gonna have Tom Soroka back for sure in the next match, and I saw this on socials today.
I heard some rumors.
Amanda Fisher has posted on Instagram that she's dusted off her jersey. She is headed to the airport or at the airport. So, I mean, you might be seeing MVP caliber stuff on Saturday, man. So it's crazy.
We might, but I think based on who's next on this list, we might be all right.
Let's go there. Number 2, Vita Vetterkind, 15.55. I mean, it's hard to argue her value to the Breakers because she is strong. She's able to do anything and everything she can do. So when you look at a 15.55, what comes to mind for you as you're putting these rankings together?
It's honestly crazy to see her still be this high. It speaks to how efficient she's been. Obviously, she's had a high impact score, but the difference in her this year and last year, like we beat her to death last year. We had to, and I feel like after most matches this year, she still probably feels pretty good. And it has she's always a super positive person, but like you can see a difference in her. I feel like because she's not being just beat to death. And so like for her to not be as heavily ridden as she was last year and still be this high, really speaks to her efficiency and maybe to an extent the value in being able to do that. So like maybe there are some players who maybe not even be in the top 25 that you might have expected because they've been forced to do so much that they're taking a bunch of negative efficiency ratings on things they probably shouldn't be doing. So like she's been consummate professional, leader on the team, You can't even measure that with efficiency rating, but she's got that in the bag too. So, I'm biased. Highest rated female on this league. I would have voted her for MVP last year, considering if she would have not been on our team, I don't know, we would have been the worst team in Grid League history probably. So I would have voted her MVP last year. I actually did, but she's definitely right in the running this year.
Oh, definitely. If you don't believe that, like, you need to watch with a little bit closer of an eye. But that brings us to number one. And when you talk about number one on this list, I don't think people are going to be surprised too much about it, because this guy is pretty good, and he's much like Vita, very efficient and can do just about anything you ask him to do. Nick Shappy, 18.04. Was he someone that you were like, before you do these rankings and you start thinking about who would be in the top, like, he had to have been one where you're like, he's probably going to be close to the top, right?
Yeah. The only thing I was thinking with him is just he moves so fast that there are times in races where he may potentially get a fault or a call or something, just from how fast he's moving, quite literally. He moves with true reckless grid abandon, which I think is a valuable skill. If you can move fast enough, even if you get a fault, you can basically wipe it off the map by just continuing to move at that speed sometimes. So it can be even more valuable sometimes than being perfect, if you can move it, but you can only get away with it if you move that fast. Not surprised at all at what he's done this year. He's been, I think him and Blake have both done both partner forwards, which is a good way to rack up points if you're fast in those. And then he's been on both ladders. Didn't clear the sandbag ladder with all four, but did clear the last bar on it. So he's got 19 ladder points in a faster time than half the league has 20. So that's another way to add a lot of value. It's like, all right, well, you got, less points, but you did it so much faster that's actually possibly even more valuable than somebody getting all 20 on both ladders. So there's just a lot of that with him that you see in between the lines, where it's like, here's another positive quadrant. Here's another positive movement that he did. And it's just like a death by 1,000 cuts, where it's like he doesn't hit necessarily home runs, like a Blake Kidder or a JoJo, where it's like, oh my God, he did a 4-point quadrant right there that just put him over the top. He's just like, oh, there's another 1.2 in efficiency. Oh, here's another 1.3 in efficiency right here. Oh, look, he did another 0.7 in max efficiency there. So it's a matter of no negatives, and just consistently being a rep or two faster than everyone at the stuff that he's doing. And, I got to give credit to him. I mean, I can't take anything away from that. And you can see that's why he's probably the one exception here where he's almost double the 10-point cutoff. So I think at 11, you're in the 9s, and he's all the way up to 18 right here. Now that can come down because you could have a bad race. So it's not set in stone, but early on, he's definitely exerted his will on a lot of races. So
it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out, obviously. But when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, I can picture a lot of these top 10 people maybe flip-flopping, but I think that top 5, I don't know if they're going to move too much, because you expect them to still they're really consistent in what they do, and they're really good at what they do, and so I don't expect them not to go into the last 2 matches not doing that. But in the event that they have an off day, they have some faults and stuff, there is a small room for error where other people can jump them. So
there's also opportunity for somebody else to just have that heroic few races and power up the board. So it's a very interesting type of metric. I feel like I do think it's probably, like we talked about, impact score is so valuable. And I love what impact score represents as far as how much value you have to your team and your ability to get stuff done. But it is not interchangeable. Like if somebody has a 300 impact score so far on the year and I have a 40, there's no possible way in 2 matches, unless they miss them, that I'm coming back from that. So like, if they have 2 bad matches and they still do 50 reps in each, you're still going to look at them at the end of the year and be like, man, that guy should be rookie of the year. He had a 500 impact score. So it tells part of the picture. And then hopefully this can tell a different side of it. And maybe we can look at like both things and be like, man, look how valuable they were to their team. And then, wow, look how valuable they were versus the rest of the league. Like, imagine if they were on this other team. Like, man, they didn't play that much, but they had a super high value. I wonder if they were on, the Wild, if they were on the Bandits, would they have been at the same level as some of these higher players? So if they had more opportunity. So it's an interesting thing, I think. None of this is perfect. And then I'm definitely not the end all be all on like what's valuable and what's not. And so I apologize. I think too much, and I'm like, God, I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings when I post these stats. I got to try to like include everybody and say everything I can to qualify everything. But at the end of the day, they're just numbers. They're 100% just numbers. I put no feelings in this. I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can. It's just me and a stopwatch. So,
I mean, I feel you when I do power rankings, it's the same. It's like every athlete, every team, I really love all of them. But if I have to do a job and rank them, somebody's got to be 8 and somebody's got to be 1, and like that's just how it is. Fico hops on. He said it's like batting average in baseball. It no longer tells a story of how good you are at hitting. Very true. Obviously,
at least not the whole story, right? Like,
I mean, back in the day, like home runs, were what was considered like you're an elite hitter if you hit 40 home runs, 50 home runs, and then 71 home runs in a year. But like really, look at the other side. How many times did they strike out to get those home runs? And like to me, that's a telling stat with average is like you might be hitting for power, but I want to know how many times are you on base? Like how many times did you strike out? Like how many pitches did you see? How many walks did you draw? Like how many doubles with 2 outs that scored runs did you do? Like those, like I don't want to. I could start talking about baseball metrics all day, but
it's also no surprise to see like in the top 25. I think you have 6 or 7 Sharks, Breakers, and Brigade. Like, I mean, like the teams that are putting forth the fastest race times are naturally also race time. So it's not at all to see that kind of data just reworded into a different context or broken down to the individual level. But it's an individual type statistic, but it really reflects on like your team as a whole. Like I said, the coaching and ability, not just the coaching, the ability to people and allows it. So I don't mean to badmouth the coaching for some people. Some people have no choice. Like they're having to do stuff that they should not be doing, just because the roster has dictated that, injuries or missing players, that stuff happens. But like you can see that some of the like really well put together rosters in this league have the ability to put people in good places. And it shows because they're doing the things they're supposed to do, which is what grid is supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be about one person doing, every rep in the race and getting a 250 break a record impact score, right? It's supposed to be about, oh my God, they only did 3 things, but they won their team those 3 races. Mm-hmm. Like Quentin Ambrosio is a great example. Me and Fico have talked. Like, you put that guy in 2 races a match, but he's winning those races for you. Like it's just
doing 15 unbroken, butterfly.
Like it's hard. It's hard to deal with a team full of people like that. Yep. And so, like, I hope this is a cool way to pay homage to that and kind of shine some light on some of those people. So, and if it doesn't, man, if the good thing about me doing it instead of the league putting their name on it is if it doesn't work, you can disappear into the ether, and nobody will ever know, and I don't have to I don't have to receive any credit for it one way or the other. Just
Wow.
Instagram account can be deleted and it can go right away. So
fade into the abyss. No, I appreciate what you do, and I know the players do as well. I mean, despite what having to like put people at the bottom of rankings, like I still believe people it's a resounding positive from the league as far as the players and what they view it as and see it as. And I'll be honest, one of the things that I've learned in covering Grid is people like being number one. People like being ranked high. Like that matters to people, and I get it, and I respect that, and I also respect what you're doing, Josh, with Grid Stats. So keep up the good work, man. Obviously, you guys are on the road getting there. I ate up an hour of the drive, so that's
man, and everybody else got a live podcast in the car because the headphones didn't work. So
I mean, so shout out to Shay back there trying not to get sick. Shout out to
Shay's down.
Billy,
man. Also, thank you for doing this with me, and thank you for helping me out with the impact scores. And for anybody who's like kind of being generous and supporting to this and not just bashing it, I really am thankful. It does matter. I'm not receiving any payment or anything other than just my own pride to do this stuff. So like any positive feedback to it, I really appreciate, and any criticism I'm open to because I want it to be better. So, but thank you so much for like helping me out with this and then putting this podcast together so we could try to explain it a little bit.
I needed it because I was looking at it and I was like, I think I know what this means, but then I started sitting on it longer. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not even going to pretend like I know. So I needed to go to the source, and I'm glad you decided to come on. It matters.
Okay, good. Sweet. If people are still confused, just treat it like I treat a heavy bar. I just caveman, unga bunga, lift bar. If you're ranked high, it's good. Like, don't worry about too much about what it means. Like, if you just can't figure it out, just try to get higher up the list, baby. Like, do your reps, don't get faults, do them fast. It's still Grid. Like, you don't have to overcomplicate it. So.
Well, big weekend. Anything you want to plug or promote before you get out of here?
Man, we're making this drive to head out to Dallas. Shout out to T-Mobile Fiber sponsoring us, and Crazy Johns, Crazy Dave's. I get the name wrong. I better not plug that. Crazy Dave's have sponsored a new look that you guys are going to see on the Grid. We started the season saying we went the same breakers, and we're going to show them even more. Breaking news. So we're gonna try to show that even more in our first match on Saturday. So exciting stuff coming. Dallas is going to be a lot of fun. Super excited for the league. Excited for the new players that we're going to see. Excited to see some people coming over from overseas that I've thought should be in the league for a long time. It's going to be a really fun time. I'm excited to do some stats on everybody after it's all done. So this is going to be fun, man.
Well, y'all get there safely, and we will catch up. I'll be in on Friday morning. I got some work to do at the convention center to get set up, and then after that, I don't know. I've toyed and teased the idea of trying to do a podcast, so I'll do my best to put something together. And
all right, man.
For anybody that wants to hop on it, I think I'm gonna just put it out there publicly and just see who hops on it. We'll see. This could be a bad idea, but
It's wrapping up now, so
who knows? But
you should do a podcast and settle the who's the best dancer live on the podcast that
I
Grid
mean,
League put up the question, because I can't do stats on that. So you're going to
it's
have
not
a.
even it's not even a question. There is a combination and a duo that will forever, in my opinion, Jasmine Simpson and Janine Nicole are the best answers that there is. So like it's not even up for debate. So
So
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you a lot,
actually.
and we'll wrap this up before people get too tired of hearing me talk. So.
That's
there we
so
go.
much.
All right, appreciate it, Josh. See y'all. That is Josh Newell of Grid Stats, Palm Beach Breakers, strength specialist, joining us to talk player efficiency rankings. You know, stats can be, and especially any type of metric, you know, when you talk about what goes into it, it can always be a lot of like mental, like overwhelmingness that can come into it. And it's crazy because when you break it down and talk about it, they're very simple metrics and very simple numbers that are put together. And I think, you know, today, at least I hope today was a good explanation and a very simplistic view of how those numbers came to be and what you got to do to increase your scores, or what will happen if you don't do that and they decrease. So just another layer of the story for players and getting it out there to the fans and to anybody out there that is interested in following Grid. So with that, I want to appreciate, show some appreciation to sponsors: Mental Game Performance Coaching, Chinook Seeds, Jesus One Apparel, Old Dominic Distillery. I'll be headed out tomorrow morning. I'll be in Dallas. We're going to be setting up for the regular season finale doubleheaders Saturday and Sunday at Dallas Mesquite Convention Center. If you're in the Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, Waco, Mesquite area, come on down. Check it out. Dallas Strength Expo. We're a part of it. We're going to be doing our thing. I promise you, you'll see the most intense, really one of the most intense, if not the most intense, fast-paced, exciting sport that you've ever put your eyes on. If you can't make it out there, obviously YouTube United Grid League, all the matches starting Saturday morning going through Sunday evening will be on YouTube live streamed. You'll see me doing sideline reporting. You'll see the rest of the team out there, Cassie, Taylor, on the call, doing it big. So I appreciate y'all's time today. Have a great rest of the week. And hey, tune in live. It's all going down. The regular season is going to culminate, because when I come back next week, we're going to have playoffs set. We're going to have final power rankings set, and it's going to be a good time. So appreciate y'all. Be good. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grid and grind all the time. We're out.